Hey YouTube, it's ICU, and today, exactly 2 weeks after issuing the second beta iteration of iOS 8, Apple has seeded iOS 8 Beta 4 to registered iOS developers. Alright, and in today's video, I'm going to be highlighting a security flaw that theoretically allows a device to update to iOS 8 Beta 4 without having its UDID officially registered through an Apple developer account. Now to preface, there are quite a few things that I need to mention. First of all, devices that update to iOS 8 Beta 4 via this method could very well encounter various activation issues. And while the procedure that I'm going to be highlighting in today's educational video will almost guarantee that you circumvent said activation issues, they can pop up at any time without warning. But with that said, the absolute best way to avoid said activation errors is to back up inside of iTunes, restore to Apple's latest public firmware, which at the time of recording this video is iOS 7.1.2, restore from the backup that you created, and then follow this video. Now that method is also recommended even if you're on iOS 7.1.2, the latest public firmware, or if you're on an earlier beta iteration of iOS 8, because even if you were to upgrade through Apple's over-the-air update option with iOS 8 Beta 3, for instance, you could very well encounter various activation issues when performing the OTA or over-the-air update. And in that case, again, you will have to restore back to iOS 7.1.2 and then restore from an earlier backup to retrieve all of the data back onto your device, because of course you can't restore from a backup that was created on a higher version of iOS, in this case being iOS 8 Beta 3 if you're on 7.1.2. So you will need to restore from an earlier backup, and then from there you can go to iOS 8 Beta 4. Now also, as I previously mentioned, because this is for educational purposes only, I will not be providing you guys with a direct download link for iOS 8 Beta 4. In order to download said IPSW, you will need to log in through an official Apple developer account and download it through Apple's iOS 8 developer portal. And the only thing that you'll need to actually follow this educational video is iOS 8 Beta 4. I have the IPSW here on my desktop that I downloaded through my official developer account, as well as the latest version of iTunes, which can be found on Apple's website. Now I'm going to show you guys really quick that my 5th generation iPod Touch is indeed on iOS 7.1.2 prior to actually demonstrating the iOS 8 Beta 4 update process. So inside of Settings, General About, down below at the bottom for the version, it does confirm that my iPod Touch here is running iOS 7.1.2, the latest public firmware. And again, I do recommend backing up inside of iTunes, restoring to 7.1.2, restoring from your backup, and then following this video for iOS 8 Beta 4. And one last thing on the topic of activation errors before iOS 8 Beta 4, if you do connect to iTunes once updated to Beta 4, it's almost guaranteed that the device will encounter these issues. So in order to prevent that, immediately following the completion of the update to iOS 8 Beta 4, unplug from iTunes. It's that simple. You will be able to log in via iCloud and access all of Apple's cloud functionality. However, you won't really be able to plug in and access iTunes while on iOS 8.0. So you're going to need to plug your device into your computer via a standard USB cable, and then once you've done that, open iTunes if it doesn't automatically open. Alright, so I have iTunes open to the device portion. As you can see at the top, it does again confirm that this is a 5th generation iPod Touch on 7.1.2. Now, with that being said, what you're going to have to do if you're on an OS X based computer or a Mac is hold down the Option or Alt key. If you're on Windows, hold down Shift. Now this is very important that once you hold down either one of those keys, depending on your operating system, you will need to left click check for update. Again, do not click Restore iPod. That is very important, and that is key when following this procedure for educational purposes only, of course. Now, if you're on OS X like I am, you will hold down, again, Option or Alt. If you're on Windows, hold down Shift and then left click check for update. You will then receive a window to actually browse for your updated IPSW, but you will notice when bringing down this window here, I have 8.0 here, which is on my desktop. Now I'm going to essentially hit open. In this case, I'm going to hit return on my keyboard. And now iTunes asks if you're sure that you want to update your device to iOS 8.0 and that it will verify the update through Apple. So I'm going to click on update, and I'm going to bring my iPod Touch here over onto the screen so you guys can see approximately how long this process should take. I'm going to leave everything up on the display here throughout the duration of this update. As you can see, inside of iTunes, it's saying that it's extracting the software, and it will also go through numerous verification checkpoints. However, because this is essentially bypassing said security updates due to a flaw in the way Apple handles developer restore checks, it will actually and surprisingly proceed. Now, inside of iTunes, it's saying that it's preparing the iPod for a software update, and you can see on the 5th generation iPod Touch here, I do have a slight spinning wheel, and it will continue. Again, it's also recommended that you don't really interface with your iDevice or iTunes, actually, and that you definitely don't unplug it from your computer. And as you can see there, it just gave a brief restore screen on the iPod Touch. And it's continuing inside of iTunes. It's saying that it's waiting for the iPod, and this process will continue. Now I'm going to quickly adjust this here. I'm going to bring the iPod closer and readjust the camera a bit, and we'll leave it up throughout the duration of this process. Also, I just wanted to take this time to say, if you guys are interested in earning free premium paid app codes from Apple's App Store, just be sure to stick around to the end of this video. I will also detail an Amazon gift card giveaway, or you can also click the annotation that should be on the desktop version of YouTube now, if you're interested in that, to fast forward. And inside of iTunes right now, it's saying that it's verifying the updated iPod software. Again, that's fine. It's just going to continue on the device itself. Now inside of iTunes, we're actually getting a progress bar. It's saying that it's updating the iPod software, and we're slowly starting to fill out the progress bar here on the iPod Touch itself. So just let it continue. And also, one other thing, the progress bars actually won't match up. That's fine. Just know that the progress bar on your device itself gives the actual overall progress, whereas inside of iTunes, it gives the process of each step. So on the iDevice itself, it's the overall process. Now inside of iTunes here, the progress bar for updating iPod software finished, and now it's saying that it's verifying updated iPod software. Again, because this does circumvent Apple's UDID registration check, it will actually continue and it should proceed as usual. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that this update process will take longer than a typical restore, so keep that in mind. And inside of iTunes, it said we were back to updating iPod software, and then it moved on to verifying updated iPod software again. It will go through numerous verification checks, as I previously mentioned. But of course, that is fine so long as you leave your device connected to your computer and that you don't interface with iTunes or your iDevice. Alright, and we actually have a new prompt here inside of iTunes saying that the iPod has updated successfully and that it is restarting. So we're going to close out of iTunes now, and I'm actually going to unplug the iPod Touch. Now that is fine. It will actually go through a brief update screen here on the iPod Touch itself. It just needs to process the update on device. So as you can see, I do have a progress bar here below the Apple logo, so just let it continue and let it boot back up. It will take longer than a regular reboot, and it will proceed once the progress bar has fully filled. Alright, and there we go, the progress bar is done, and now it should come up shortly, and you will actually have to go through a quick on-device update screen process, just like setting up a normal device after a restore. However, it won't quite be as long, so I'm going to slide over here and I'm going to tap on continue. We're going to disable location services, and I'm going to tap OK to disabling, and then also I'm going to skip the Apple ID steps, so let's skip through that, and I'm not going to add a passcode, and once we continue, we are on the home screen. And as you can see here, really quick, I do have Health, which was introduced when Apple unveiled iOS 8. Let's get a closer look. So inside of Settings, General About, now down below at the bottom for the version, it confirms that this iPod Touch is indeed running iOS 8.0, and that build number at the end is the latest build for the 4th beta iteration of iOS 8. So you know that this 5th generation iPod Touch is indeed running iOS 8 Beta 4. And now, in addition to having a health app, which let me open it really quick, here are the different categories inside of the health app. We also have 2 other apps. First of all, we have podcasts, and then also a new tips app, which has seemingly replaced the bug report app. And just swiping through here gives you tips of new things that you can do with iOS 8 and the features that Apple introduced with the update. Alright, that's basically it for this video. I hope you guys liked it, and as I alluded to previously, if you guys are interested in winning an Amazon gift card, just be sure to rate this video up and leave a relevant comment down below in the comments section. Once you've done that, visit bit.ly/getfreeapplife or freeapplife.com inside of Safari. Once downloaded, install sponsored apps for points and then redeem said points for various prizes, including paid application codes in Apple's App Store that support the developers of said apps, gift cards, and electronic devices. Alright, and if you guys are interested in more iOS 8 coverage as well as additional details on Apple's upcoming iPhone 6, just be sure to subscribe to me if you aren't already, like me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. And until next time, this is ICU, signing out.